YouTube. So waiting on YouTube. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Sports Talk with kerry wehmeyer show for Monday, July 15th. We're not going over the news headlines tonight. We're going to be having SEC Media Days tonight. So, and also the American Conference Media Days. So, all week we'll have Media Day coverage. So, no news headlines. So we'll just have scoreboard updates and stuff like that. So we'll begin in just a few minutes. Let me see if we're on um, Facebook, so we know we're on. Give me 1 second. Let me check the everything on the screen. Checking it right now. Make sure y'all are on. So we're gonna switch y'all over to public. Give me 1 second to switch over. Okay, let's begin with tonight's scoreboard update. Scoreboard update at this hour. Let's begin with MLB Baseball scoreboard. Before we start with Conference Media Days, which is this week, let's begin with scoreboard updates. I mean, everything's on the screen, so we're waiting on the MLB.com website to come up. So if you want to come in, talk to me, come on down. During the Media Day videos that we're going to be having on the screen in just a few minutes. So, right after scoreboard. Okay, let's begin. Top of the seventh inning, it is the Dodgers up 9-1 against the Phillies. 9-1 Dodgers against the Phillies. That's in the top seven. Now, in the top of the seventh, it is 2-1 Tampa Bay on top. Runners at first and 2 outs. Also, it is Boston up 10-4 against Toronto. That's in the bottom of the fifth. Boston has a runner at second and 2 outs. Also, it is Chicago up 3-1. That's 3-1. Let me switch this over so you can see me better without the things on there. So there we go. It is 3-1 Chicago. Also, let's go ahead and go over the scoreboard. Scroll down. It is the Atlanta Braves up 3-0. That is in the let's see, top of the fifth. Now the Chicago White Sox down 2-0. That's in the top of the fifth. They have 2 outs. Also, it is the St. Louis Cardinals up 3-0. St. Louis Cardinals 3 and Pittsburgh nothing. Also, it is let's see, no score going into the third inning. Giants and Rockies. Also, it is delayed in the Cleveland and Detroit game. 5-5 is the score. The Astros will play at 9:07 tonight. Also, the Giants won in the first game 19-2. So they did win 19-2 over the Colorado Rockies. And the second game is going on right now. It's going into the third inning. It is scoreless in that game. So that is the updates on Major League Baseball side. Sorry about that, folks. Let's go ahead and swing this over to the minor league scoreboard. Minor league scoreboard, AAA level. Waiting on the score updates to come up on the screen. So you should be able to get them on my screen. See them in the screen in just a second. It is Syracuse up 13-1. That is in the bottom of the seventh. Also, it is Rochester up 8-3. That's in the bottom of the eighth. Also, it is Toledo up 9-1, top 9. Durham is batting, 2 outs. Also, in the middle of the seventh, it is 2-6-6. Charlotte and Buffalo. Also, Scranton is up 6-3. Also, it is Gwinnett up 6-3, top 8. Also, it is Pawtucket up 2-1. Also, it is 6-5 Brown Rock on top, bottom 4. Also, it is tied up at 1 between Nashville and San Antonio. The Baby Cakes are they're up in Omaha tonight. They're going into the 5th inning, tied at 1. Also, it is let's see, Iowa up 2-1. Also, it is Albuquerque up 5-0, going into the 4th. Also, it is Sacramento up 4-0, bottom 1. The other 2 games later, El Paso and Reno at 9:05, and also 9:05, Tacoma and Las Vegas. Let's go to the Double A level. See what's happening on the Double A side. Let me see if I can get the recorders on. So I got to switch the recorders. I got to see if the recorders are on. I got to get the recorders on. Sorry about that, folks. So we got the recorders on now, and I'll just come on to the side right here and watch you on the screen. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over the Double A scoreboard again. I had to set the recorder. We are recording for the podcast, the audio version. So please be advised if you don't hear me, it's because of the recorders are on. So okay, it is Chattanooga up 2-0 against Biloxi. Also, it is 4-1 Mobile on top of Tennessee. Also is Erie and Akron even at 4. Also, it is 5-3 Hartford. Also, it is Jacksonville up 8-2 against the Braves. Also, it is Montgomery up 6-1 against Pensacola. Also, it is Trenton winning 4-3. Biloxi wins in the first game 4-3. Also, Reading wins 4-1. Also, it is New Hampshire winning 2-0, and Bowie wins 4-2 over Harrisburg. So that is the score updates. Let's give you a summer league score update. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, it is switch it around. Give me 1 second to Okay, it is 45-33 Memphis on top. That's in the second quarter. That's the only game tonight in the summer league games tonight. 45-33. Now it is, so we got it in the scoreboard. So let's switch this over. Okay, we are broadcasting tonight's 2019 SEC Media Days. We will have all the video clips from every one of the coaches that are going to be participating in the SEC Media Days. First up, we will have Coach Ed Orgeron with LSU. We want to hear what he has to say, so the video will be playing. You can comment to me while the video is playing. I will have the chat room on, so you can come in and state your opinion about anything else. So let's go ahead. We're going to switch this over. So give me 1 second. Let me turn on the stream. So let's begin with Coach Ed Orgeron. He is the he started speaking at 4:55. That's 5 minutes to 5 today. So let's go ahead and talk. Listen to Ed Orgeron. We also will listen to the lineup will be Barry Odom from Missouri, Greg Sankey from the SEC Commissioner's Office, and also Dan Mullen from Florida. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and talk. We'll go ahead and begin with Ed Orgeron. He is the head coach of LSU. So let's begin.
Wireless network claims are so confusing. America's most reliable network, the nation's largest and most reliable network. The best network is even better? Best, fastest, best, enough. Sprint's doing things differently. They're offering a new 100% total satisfaction guarantee.
Student coach after playing wide receiver at McNeese the past 2 years, and their third son, Tyler, is a member of the football staff at LSU. And you can imagine that Kelly has McNeese games on in the coach's box during LSU games when they conflict. Also a note about LSU football, senior long snapper Blake Ferguson is the chair of the SEC Student Athlete Leadership Council and has done well in leading that group. He also has a great bottle cap challenge video, met equally well by his brother, who is a long snapper for the Buffalo Bills. With that information, LSU head football coach Ed Ogeron.
Thank you, Commissioner. I really appreciate you mentioning my family. It means a lot. Great to be back at the SEC Media Days representing Louisiana State University. What an honor. We're excited about the 3 young men that we brought here today. Great examples of LSU student athletes, what a football player should be. Joe Burrow, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Grant Delpit, who I think Grant Delpit is the best defensive player in the country coming back this year. I'd like to thank Tommy Moffitt and his strength staff for a tremendous job this summer. We couldn't ask for a better strength coach and a better strength staff than we have with Tommy Moffitt and our football team. We've had a great summer. Our coaches have had a great summer. We're ready to go. It won't be long. We're excited about our 2019 class. We feel that we have a very good class coming in. 2 players already there, Derek Stingley and Apu Aika, are starting on our football team already. Both of those guys are tremendous players. Cardell Thomas, who was the #1 guard in the country, who stayed committed to us and was the lead of our recruiting class, is going to have a chance to compete to start at left guard. We have 2 excellent running backs in Tyron Davis and John Emery. Those guys are elite backs. They're going to play this year. They're going to compete. Trey Palmer, one of the fastest guys in the country, is going to add to our already deep wide receiver core. Marcel Brooks is going to be an excellent player along with the rest of the class. So we're excited to see this guys. First time we can coach most of these guys in camp. We're going to give them a chance to compete and to play. I look forward to fall camp. I will block out the noise statement is going to be there again this year. Last year there was negativity. People didn't know what type of football team we was going to have. They were talking about this, talking about that. Now this year they say we're going to have a really good football team. And I do believe we're going to have a really good football team.
I'm going to say this. Look, what he's saying about the block out the noise situation, I really think they should implement it. Because, look, they're going to have a lot of bullshit going on about LSU being nationally ranked and stuff like that. You got to block out the noise because it's not this season. It's not going to be a given. So we'll go ahead and play some more clips of them. Let me go ahead and flip this over.
But we have to get back to work. We have to get back to the true grit and the fundamentals that it takes in camp and block out the noise. And I know our team's going to do that with tremendous leadership. On offense, we went to the spread. We hired Joe Brady. He came from the Saints, a very talented coach. He spent some time at Penn State where he learned the RPOs, the run-pass options, and he has been a game changer for our staff. He and Steve Ensminger worked together wonderful. Steve Ensminger has done a great job for us as offensive coordinator. I expect those two to run a very prolific offense, led by Joe Burrow. This is Joe's type of offense. Joe is a dual threat quarterback. We could not run Joe as much as we wanted to last year. We ran him at Texas A&M, ran him towards the end of the year. Miles Brennan was hurt. Now Miles Brennan is healthy. So we're going to do a lot more running with Joe this year, and I know he's going to fit in well with this offense. Miles Brennan is up to 212 pounds. We're going to play him in significant times this year. I want him to be ready. I want him to act like he's a starter. We think that he is going to be an excellent quarterback, and we also have Peter Parrish at quarterback right there. Our offensive line returns 4 starters. We feel like we're going to be very solid there. We have to improve on our pass protection. I know we will. Probably the strength of our offense is going to be our wide receiver core led by Justin Jefferson, a fantastic route runner. He and Jamar Chase are 2 outstanding football players, along with Terrence Marshall, who is coming along to his own, was one of the best wide receivers coming out of high school. And we have Stephon Sullivan, who's a 6'6" receiver. We can use him at receiver inside or at tight end. I talked about Tyrone and John at running back, along with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, along with Leonard Fournette and Chris Curry, so we're going to be very solid there. On defense, I talked about it all day today. I think this is the best group of defensive backs I've ever coached. And that's 35 years of coaching. I'm talking about a collective group led by Grant Delpit, who I believe is the best player in the country coming back on defense. Christian Fulton's coming back from an injury. He's one of the top cornerbacks in the SEC, if not in America. Derek Stingley is going to be a phenomenal player. Jacoby Stevens, who was a great athlete out of Tennessee, is coming back. And then we have Kerry Vincent, who ran a 10.07 100 meters, one of the fastest guys in the country. At linebacker, we got to replace Delvin White. I don't know how you replace that guy. He's the Buckets Award winner, but we have 3 great linebackers. Michael Divinity moved from outside linebacker. Then Jacob Phillip and Patrick Queen going to start for the fighting position, start position there. We have 4 returning starters on the defensive front. It all starts up front. We have Caleb Chasson's back. We're excited about him. He's our best pass rusher. Rashard Lawrence is returning for his senior year. Braden Fehoko and Glenn Logan, all those guys have started. So we have a rotation. We're going to attack up front.
He just said, like I said, he has 4 starters coming back on defense. That's one thing that's going to help this LSU defense out, because they're going to have Kenavon Chasson. That's the guy that's going to be the rusher. So I'll be honest with you, this LSU defense is going to be very exciting to watch this year. So without a shadow of a doubt, look, I mean, a lot of people is going to say these guys are probably going to be undersized and stuff like that. No, bullshit. I will not agree with that, because like I said, LSU is going to build these guys up. And I'm going to tell you right now, this season is going to depend on if they get to the playoffs or not. So that's my take on it. Let me go ahead and go back and let you listen to more of what Ed Erzeron had to say.
Front, make more plays in the backfield. On special teams, I'm excited by Greg McMahon. Greg has done a tremendous job for us as our special teams coordinator. We have to replace Cole Tracy, who was a tremendous asset to our football team last year, but we have a young man named Cade Yart, who has a very strong leg. He's very active. We look forward to seeing him. Avery Acton's kicked 90% of his kickoffs into the end zone. Zach Van Rosenberg, Josh Groden is coming back at punter, so we're very, very excited about that. We think that we have a very, very strong special teams coming back. Blake Ferguson has been our deep snapper for 4 years, a great young man. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll have Amanda, Jordan, and Sarah get a microphone to you. We're going to start right over here on our left-hand side. Olin?
Yeah, Olin Buchanan with TexAgs.com. Coach, at the spring meetings, you said that it was going to be a hell of a week when A&M comes to LSU. What's going to be different, do you think, about y'all's approach this year as in previous years?
I think, the way last year's game ended added some to the rivalry. I think it's a game that I'm going to be looking forward to, that our players are looking forward to. Obviously, it's at the end of the year. I think it's going to mean a lot to where we go and where we're going to stand on the season. Obviously, we felt that we should have won that game 3 or 4 times, but that's done. There are some things that we could have done better in that game, and we're going to work very hard to fix that.
All right, we'll go down here on our left, front row, Ron.
Yeah, Ed, Ron Higgins, TigerDetails.com. I know you're not thrilled a lot of times with Joe Burrow running the ball and trying to take on tacklers and run over people, but how has his physicality affected your offense and then the way they approach things?
Yeah, I do believe that Joe, if we let him would run into a brick wall, no matter what it took. He's that tough he has a linebacker mentality. We are going to use him on the quarterback runs, quarterback draws, but we're going to be careful how many times we run him a game. But it does add another element to our offense, but we still want.
And that's why they have to have an effective passing game, because to prevent Joe Burrow from running. So that's the main key this year, going into this football season, is not to run him as much as possible. Because look, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you run him into the ground, I'm gonna tell you he's gonna get injured, and that's gonna be the biggest bugaboo that's gonna affect this LSU football team. So I'd say this: let's run him maybe about, I could say, if the pocket breaks down, I would say let's run him. If the pocket doesn't break down, we have effective O-line blocking. He can get that ball downfield real quick. So that's my take on it. We'll come back. I'll give you my analysis on it, what he said. So let me go ahead and switch this back over.
To be physical. We have some physical backs. LSU is always going to be physical. We want to be 50-50 and run the football.
Coach, we'll go right down here in front of us, front row.
Good afternoon, Coach O. DJ Jones with Sports Visions Radio and TV. Tommy Robinson and Peter Parrish are from our neck of the woods, Columbus, Georgia. First of all, Tommy Robinson is your assistant head coach. Will you share with us how much you depend on him, or how much you go to him for his opinions? And also Peter Parrish, you mentioned him. I know Joe is your quarterback, but do you expect Peter to get action this year?
Yeah, well, Peter Parrish won a state championship in Alabama. In fact, we got the state championship quarterback in Alabama, the state championship quarterback in Louisiana, and the state championship quarterback in Mississippi. So we've got a lot of state championship quarterbacks, so we should be good there. But I do believe Peter's going to be a great quarterback for us. And he fits into our run-pass option offense, does a great job, is a great family. Tommy Robinson's an outstanding man. You couldn't find a better man than Tommy Robinson. He's very instrumental to our program.
Okay, we're going to go over here to our right, Coach, on the near aisle, right here. Over to our
Reiner Saban with AL.com. How important was it for you to get Devonta Lee to commit and come to LSU from A-Meet, and just from an optics standpoint?
Yeah. Well, really, it's a battle. Obviously, it's a battle, especially from that area. And we feel that we got the best player on that team. And Devonta Lee had a great state championship game. He played offense, he played defense. He's a great young man. And again, he wanted to come to LSU. His family, they wanted to be there. He never wavered. He went to take a couple of visits. We felt that he's a high character young man. He's going to have a great career, but it does mean something that we got a player out of A-Meet to come to LSU. It's a very fertile area, as you know.
We'll go over here on the left on the second row. Bob?
Hey, Ed, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. How would you assess your 2+ seasons at LSU so far? Do you think this will be your best team, and do you feel like you guys are ready to challenge Alabama in the West?
Yeah. Well, first of all, last year I felt that we had a good season, and we were 2 plays away from being 12-1, and we got to expound on that this year. We cannot make the mistakes that we made against Florida. We had opportunities to win the game at Texas A&M. Those are 2 things that we need to look at. Now, we had some big wins. Auburn was a big win. Miami was a big win. Georgia was a big win. Those were big wins. We did not play well against Alabama. Now, we have to go on the road and play them again. We have a very tough schedule this year, but we have a good football team, and we should be able to answer the bell.
All right, we'll stay down front here along the aisle. Drew?
Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. Coach, I know you had a really good relationship with Pete Jenkins, both at USC and LSU, and now you've brought John Robinson in as a consultant. What have both of those guys meant to you as far as helping you develop as a head coach?
Your mentors, always use them. Like with Pete, when Pete was with me, hey, Pete, what would y'all do in this situation? How did y'all practice? How did y'all prepare for this? And he was able to come in my office and just talk to me like he and I would talk with a lot of trust. The same thing with John Robinson. John Robinson, he's 82 years old. He's healthy. He's in good shape. He's going to be a consultant. He's going to be around. He's going to be in our meetings. He'll go to practice. He can't coach the players, but he can talk to the coaches. Hey, this is what we did in this situation. So those guys are invaluable to have around.
Coach, we're going to go over to the right, second row. Scooter.
Scooter Hobbs, Lake Charles, American Press. You keep threatening to go to this upbeat spread offense, and a lot of schools, and I'm taking you at your word this time, but a lot of schools that do that have trouble maintaining the kind of defense you've gotten used to.
Yeah.
How do you guard against that, and do you kind of have to grade your defense on the curve against that type offense?
Well, first of all, we're going to run the spread offense. It's in the playbook. I've seen the playbook, so it's not a threat, Scooter. I promise you that. We're gonna run it. But you do bring up a point that there is some physicality that you lose from going too tight end.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this: they will run that spread offense, and that's what he's saying. But that's one thing. Look, they're worried about the defense elapsing, but I'm gonna tell you, look. It's going to help this defense. It's going to absolutely help this defense if our offense runs the spread. Because they're going to run RPOs, which is the run, pass, and the option. And also, they're going to run that spread where they be able to have the ability to throw the football in time. So I'll be honest with you. Look, there's not going to be no after effects on the defense. When we run the spread offense this year. So that's my take on it. We'll go ahead and play some more clips of it. I'll analyze it. So let me go ahead and switch it over.
Of two backs and running a power game that your defense has to practice against. We will still have some 21 personnel, some 12 personnel, to where when we have to get physical to run the football in short yardage situations, so our defense can still see that. But you bring up a good point.
All right, Coach, we'll go in the center section, 4 rows back, right in front of me.
Hey, Coach. Jeffrey Winborn with the Daily Mountain Eagle. Joe Burrow finished the season strong last year against Central Florida. How do you coach him to carry that momentum over into 2019? And how has his progression looked going from year 1 in the program to year 2?
Yeah. Well, first of all, at this time last year, we didn't have Joe. He was on the football team. We didn't know who our quarterback was going to be. All I did was see him run sprints. He won the job. He won the team over. I think the Georgia game was a turnaround game for him. The team started believing, the quarterback could win the big game. The difference is that we've had Joe all spring. He's been with his teammates. He throws on their own. They practice on their own. He sees them work. He knows them. He knows his teammates in and out. He knows the offensive line. This guy is a tremendous leader. And I said it before, he reminds me of Bobby Hebert, a quarterback that I played with, who's a tremendous football player that had all the intangibles of a leader. Joe's very tough. Joe's going to lead by example. His team believes in him. We expect him to have a great year.
Coach, we'll go right here in front of us in the front row.
Hey, Coach. John Frary from WAOC in St. Augustine. Let me ask you the other Joe Brady, who you touched on when you first started. When did you make the decision to reach out to him, bring him over, and how will he gel with Joe Burrow? Does this spread attack favor Joe Burrow more since he came from Ohio State and is kind of familiar with it?
Well, when he came over last summer, we had the Saints come in and talk to us about their red zone package, empty package, and then we asked Joe to come on over and talk about the RPOs. He did a tremendous job, a big-time job. And I always wanted the Saints passing game and run the RPOs. So it was a natural fit. Jerry Sullivan was our wide receiver coach. He came in November, told me that he was retired, which was very honorable of him. He did a great job for us. I immediately thought of Joe Brady. And Greg McMahon's on my staff. We called Pete Carmichael, called Coach Payton. He asked me not to talk to him until the season was over. But as soon as the season was over, we brought him in and hired him, and he's been phenomenal ever since.
All right, Coach, we'll go over to our left, about 3/4 of the way back. Mike?
Yeah, Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. Coach, a lot of SEC fans seem to think that UCF maybe was getting a little too big for their britches last year. What did it mean to you guys to win that big bowl game, and what sort of response have you gotten from your SEC brethren?
Well, it meant a lot for us, first of all, to win 10 games, to win a New Year's Day 6 bowl. We had a lot of respect for Central Florida. They were feisty, man. They had an attitude about themselves, and no wonder they won 25 games. They had some darn good football players. They were well coached, and they fought you. I knew they was going to fight to the end. They took an onside kick for us to recover to win the football game. So we had a lot of respect for them. I don't know if they got too big for their britches or not. That's not for me to say. I know it was a tough, hard-fought ball game.
I'm gonna say this. Look, UCF was not had a bigger britches. They did not. Look, they won 25 games. People's got to realize that. I mean, that's the reality of it. Because look, LSU, it was a tough game. Don't get me wrong. It was an absolute tough game against UCF. They fight to the end. That's what he's saying. I mean, but like I said, look, you can't underestimate teams like that. You cannot. There's no way in hell you can underestimate these things. I mean, a lot of fans might do that and say all kind of stupid shit on social media that's just going to get people riled up and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, look, you cannot, once you play these teams, you have the utmost respect for them, and that's what you have to do. And that's the reality of football right there. So that's my take on it. Let me go ahead and go back and play some more clips of them.
All right, Coach, we'll go to the center section right in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back.
Coach, T-Bob Hebert here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Obviously a lot of focus on the offensive side of the ball, but there's some room for improvement on the defensive side as well, and you have a lot of talent returning, as you said. So what are the areas that you see defensively that you can see the biggest strides?
Yeah, first of all, we gave up 167 yards rushing the game. That is not championship football. That's not LSU football. So we have to stop the run. There's no question that we need to get better in tackling, gap fits, schemes, tackles for loss, whatever it may take for us to stop the run, okay? Next of all, we need to put pressure on the quarterback with a 4-man rush. It was not good last year. Dave had to do a lot of different things that really shouldn't have to do at LSU. We should be able to rush 4 guys, win one-on-ones. Then we need to do a better job in 2-minute offense and a better job of preventing the deep ball. We didn't do a good enough job, and sometimes of letting them throw the ball over our head. So those are all things that we need to improve. But, you need to go back to tackling. You need to go back to turnovers. You need to go back to discipline and effort. That's what it's going to take to be a great defense.
Coach, we'll go to our right here alongside.
I strongly agree with what Coach O says. Look, we have to stop the run. We absolutely have to stop the run. I don't care if you have to put 4 men in the box or maybe 5 men in the box. We have to stop the run because they gave up 167 yards of rushing offense last year to the opponent. And also, they have to stop the deep ball threat as well. That's the biggest concern during this football season is the deep ball threat on from opposing teams and also the run game from opposing teams. So he was correct. He was absolutely correct. I know a lot of fans can say whatever they want, but the truth of the matter is it's all it's all facts. It's not bullshit. It's not coaches talk and none of that stuff. That's the main concern they're going to be talking about. So let's go ahead and go back to what he was saying. We're gonna and then also we'll have Barry Odom, the coach of Missouri, and also we'll have Dan Mullen, and we'll have the SEC commissioner Greg Sankey. So let's go ahead and begin.
The aisle, about midway back.
Coach, Price Everett from Alabama News Center here in Birmingham. You talk a lot about wanting to have a culture of true grit and physical football with your team. What do you do to instill those values into your players and keep it going throughout the entire season?
Yeah, lead by example. First of all, recruiting character means a lot to us, and that weighs in a bunch. If we're going out and recruiting, there's too many red flags, we're not going to take a young man. We feel that we have recruited some great talent with great character, and that means a lot. Second of all, the way we practice, the way we act, the things that we do on a daily basis, our guys get tested. We call it the Ponderosa where we practice. We go out in the Ponderosa, we go out ones against ones, and you're going to play against a good football player every day, and you're going to find out who you are. And it's going to take character, it's going to take grit to go through our practice schedule in the fall to create a great atmosphere to have a championship football team. And that's my job to do that, and it comes natural.
Coach, we'll go to the center all the way in the back.
Ed, Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. Going into year 3 here, how do you think you've evolved as a head coach, and how do you think that prepares you to lead a team with so much expectation on it this year?
Yeah, well, I'm a lot more comfortable being the head coach at LSU. I do believe that we have our players in. I do believe last year was a pivotal year, as we all know, for us. We proved that we can win. Having a 10-win season is good. It's not great. It puts us in position to take the next step at LSU, what LSU deserves, and I understand that. I do believe I have a lot better staff today than I ever had. I have guys that are experts at their position, the guys that understand the expectations of myself and LSU. I believe we have returning quarterback, means a lot to us. We still have to get better at the line of scrimmages. I'm not saying get better players. We need to perform better. We need to coach them better. These guys need to play well in order for us to win the championship. And I think that's where we need to make the biggest improvement on our team.
Okay, we'll stay in the center section, all again the same area in the back.
Jimmy Ott, ESPN Radio Baton Rouge. Having a great recruiting class like you did in 2019 when Louisiana is so thick has been done before. But the 2020 class is getting a lot of production across the whole country. Why is that happening?
We have connections, obviously. LSU has a national brand. And we've had people from California approach us. As a coach, we're interested in coming to LSU. I said, okay, good, we're going to recruit you. The first time I had going up in the Baltimore, D.C. area, I seen other schools recruiting that area. So I went up there myself, and we have 3 guys from that area, may get 4 or 5. It's a very fertile area. But I think the biggest thing, Jimmy, is LSU has a national brand, but SEC is the hot ticket now, especially the SEC West. Players want to come, they want to compete at the best. They see our games, they see our schedule, they see the draft. The people that are getting developed the most is coming out of our league. They want to be a part of it.
Coach, we'll go over to our right alongside the wall.
Hey, Coach. Travis Brown, Bryan, College Station Eagle. What are your thoughts on the Scott Woodward hire, and how has that relationship been so far?
Yeah, Scott's been phenomenal. He's from Louisiana. We met at first. We didn't know each other. I'd met him once or twice. And then he came in and checked out our recruiting and loved it and loved what we were doing. He is one of the best athletic directors I've been around so far. He's the most knowledgeable I've been around forever in recruiting. He is into recruiting. He knew every player on our board. In fact, he gave me a couple of players. He has some great evaluation tips. He knows the game. He has given me everything I need as the head football coach to be successful at LSU. He's going to work his tail off to make sure that we have everything that we need to win championships, and that's all you can ask an athletic director. To me, he's been phenomenal. Our relationship right now is phenomenal.
Okay, we'll go our aisle to the right, all the way in the back.
Coach O, Rex Castillo from WRBL. Just can you talk about Peter Parrish, the quarterback that you got from Phoenix City, and just how he's been able to adjust to LSU's culture?
Yeah, first of all, I tell you real quick, Peter came to camp, and we didn't offer him, and he left. And I couldn't sleep that night. And I woke up at 6 o'clock that morning. I had a staff meeting. I said, we got to offer this young man. And we texted Mama, give us a call. He called us back. They were about to enter another camp at another school, and we offered him a scholarship, and he came. Peter's been great. Obviously, we can't coach him with a ball in his hand right now, so we don't know. I look forward to in August coaching Peter. He's a state championship quarterback in Alabama. We think he's going to have a great career for us.
Okay, we'll stay in the center section over here in the back.
Hey, Ed, Brooks Cabina from The Advocate. Both coaches earlier today have spoken about the NCAA transfer portal.
I'm going to say this about Peter Parrish. look, he's gonna gel well over here. Look, he was saying that they didn't offer him a scholarship. That's one thing. Look, if we can get these young men to come to LSU, we will be a damn good football team for years to come. Because we can recruit the best. I mean, I don't care if it's here in Louisiana, here in the New Orleans area, or on the North Shore, or the north of the state, or southwest Louisiana, and all that. Look, we recruit here across the country, and also here in Louisiana. So, look. So I don't care. Like I said, if he goes to Florida, they'll go and recruit there. So, look, that guy Peter Parrish. Look, he's from Phoenix City, Alabama. So I'm gonna tell you, look, he's gonna get used to the LSU offense. They're gonna give him the playbook. He's gonna have to learn that playbook. Once Joe Burrow is gone, he's gonna have to come in and step up for LSU once Joe Burrow is gone. So that's my take on it. Let me go ahead and finish up this last few minutes of this Ed Orgeron, and then we'll key up Barry Odom from Missouri. So let me go ahead and key this up.
I mean, from your perspective, how much does that change the game in roster management from both ends? Yeah, Joe Burrow as a transfer before. No, he wasn't in the portal, but just going on, what are the challenges on both ends of that? How much does it change the game?
First of all, I'm against it, and that doesn't matter if I'm against it or not. I think that certain people are going to transfer, but I think that most young men ought to try to stick it out. There's 400 some guys that entered the transfer portal and have nowhere to go, and they give up an education. I don't think that's right. I think that they should limit the time in which a young man can transfer. It should be after spring ball. It should be after he completed a spring semester. He should be eligible before he enters the transfer portal. It should be about a week, and give them a decision and let them go. So those are the things I think that ought to be changed. I don't know if they're going to be changed. That's my own personal opinion. But you have to be ready. Roster management is important, especially with your 25 initials. We talked about it, SEC coaches, to make some moves, to change some things, to enable us to get 85 back. I think that's going to be an ongoing process.
Coach, we'll go over here on the left side of the wall.
Hey, Coach. Jacques Doucet, WAFB. Coach, you've got some great leaders, great people on the defensive line, Fehoko, Lawrence, Logan. Is it just a matter of them getting a little more nasty this year to win those bigger games in the trenches?
First of all, I'm going to be a lot more involved in coaching the defensive line this year than I ever been, and that's something that I know we can do well. We're going back to an attack defensive line. We're going to be more of a four-man defensive line, a stunning defensive line, causing tackles in the backfield, getting a better quarterback rush. So this will enable these guys. We're going to make some slight adjustments on how we play with the guys, but it's going to be more of a freestyle attack, getting in the backfield, making plays. So I think you're going to see that with those guys.
We're going to go right here in front, on the front row.
Joe Bombo, SB Nation Radio. Obviously, he has big shoes to fill, but what are some of the tributes that you're seeing from Michael Divinity?
Michael's a leader. He's a vocal leader. He's tough. He's able to key and diagnose. He has a great awareness. He can see the play happening before the snap. He studies. It's his senior year. It means a lot to him. Michael wants to have a great year. He wants to win. He wants to be an NFL football player. He's very motivated, strong, physical, probably one of our tougher players. So all those things, that's what you want in a great linebacker.
Hey, Coach, we're going to go back over to our right side, all the way in the back.
Coach, Raymond Parch with 103.7 The Game in Lafayette. Tyler Shelvin is a player that you've been able to develop, work on his weight in particular last year, and he got some playing time. How key will he be this year, and how is his development continuing to progress?
Yeah, Tyler's down to a slim 340 now. He came to us at about 380 pounds. Tyler's worked very hard this summer. He's worked hard on his eligibility. He's worked hard on the football field. Tommy Moffitt has given him some good reviews. And last year with Apu Aika in, Tyler and Apu have been competing for the starting position. I think that helped Tyler. He has to compete a little bit more. I think you're going to see both of them play. Tyler may be a starter. Apu may be a starter. We're going to decide that after camp, but you're going to see him play a lot. He played a lot better towards the end of the year last year when he learned how to play with his weight down.
Coach, we'll go down here on our left, second row. Bob.
Ed, kind of following up on the transfer question. I think Joe's going to be one of 4, maybe 5 graduate transfers that'll start quarterback in this league. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a trend that's going to continue? And do you understand why so many quarterbacks transfer when, obviously you can't play 3 quarterbacks out?
I'm for the graduate transfer rule. I think that's, you graduated, if the situation don't fit you, you got 1 year to go play football. And I think, Joe's a great example. Cole Tracy's a great example. I think that you're going to see it with the quarterbacks. Obviously, you can only play one. And especially if a quarterback has 1 year left and he's not going to play, he should be afforded the opportunity to go play somewhere.
All right, we have time for one more question if anyone's got a final question. All right, Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Go Tigers.
Yep, what he said about the graduate transfer rule, I think it's perfect. Look, if he has 1 year of eligibility left, he should be able to play. Just like the transfer portal. Look, I am definitely for it. In some instance, if that guy doesn't work out, then he can go transfer to another school. No questions asked. But look, you got to try to stick it out. Like he said, they're affecting their education. That's one thing about it. He's saying in his comments to the media. So that's one thing. Look, to keep in mind. See, if you're going to get some of these players coming out of this portal, look, they could either play for a major another team outside the conference, or they could play for the FCS. And the FCS, I'm gonna tell you, look, you might be able to play as a transfer. So that's on the FCS level. You automatically play. So keep that in mind, folks, during the football season. So let's begin. Go back to another. We'll switch this out, and we'll go to another press conference. Let's go to Barry Odom. He is the coach of Missouri. Let's go ahead and play him, and then we'll play Dan Mullen. I'm gonna switch it out 1 second. So it should come up in a second. I'm gonna switch it over. Well, listen to Coach Odom from Missouri. Let's begin. 20. Switch it over.
Kearney, Missouri. Cale Garrett, who will leave as one of the best linebackers ever to play the game at Mizzou. And then one is from Dallas, Texas, DeMarcus Acey. I'm proud of the way that these guys have led our team, but they're just a small group of who we are. But you look at the things that this group has done on the off-season workouts, the way since our last bowl game when it concluded in late December, they've decided to raise the bar on who we want to be and how we're going to go do it. And the culture of our entire organization is going to be our edge as we get into the 2019 season. I love my staff and I love our team. I think you look at the way that we've spent time, we've committed to time spent with our players and our student athletes on the personal development side of it, on the personal development side of moving our program forward. Our team has embraced that. We're all aligned with the same vision and a direct approach on how we can be our best throughout our habits, our preparation. It's called, for us, the winning process of how we go about things. I'm fortunate that the staff that we have, it's the best group that I've ever been around. And I don't like to get into a lot of comparisons, but I look at the group and the experience that they bring to the table. I'm fortunate that I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of guys that are like-minded, and they're there to serve our kids. You look at the organization and the culture that we've got, not only our assistant coaches, but our recruiting department, our academic staff, strength and conditioning, sports medicine, the Mizzou Made program. It makes us who we are. The look at the idea of our opportunities right now as coaches or leaders, we're teachers, and we've got an opportunity to take our young team and develop and mold them in 3, 4, or 5 years and turn them out to the real world as better persons, better dads, better husbands, better fathers. That's my job, that's my role, and I embrace it every day to have the opportunity to do that. I'm honored and humbled to be the coach of the Missouri Tigers, this group specifically, on the work that we have done and we're going to do moving into the 2019 season. We've got great momentum. You look at the things that we've accomplished off the field. We've got the highest GPA that a Mizzou football team's ever had in back-to-back semesters. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the work that they've done. You look at the opportunity that we had over 50 guys with above a 3.0 GPA. Okay, that doesn't happen overnight. It happens because you recruited the right kids, they're bought into the program, they're willing to follow the direction, and they do it together with each other. The idea of the concept of we over me, we talk about it all the time in our program, about our culture not just being the people on our team, it's also the people who influence or touch all the people on our team. Our organization is so much bigger than myself. We understand that we've got an opportunity with this platform to represent somebody and something a lot bigger than ourselves. The state of Missouri, the fans, who I'm so thankful for, the folks that have built Mizzou football into what it is today. It's our job to take that and continue to move forward along with the winning process. You look at the scope of what our team and how it's made up of. I'm proud of the opportunity with the momentum that we have coming off of last year, the carryover of our habits, the ways those, the vision, the way that they look from day to day on the operations on how we function. They've developed into the concept and the opportunity just to be focused on being the best them. Be the best version of yourself, and we focus and spend a lot of time talking about that. The depth of our team, if you look up front, it's built on the line of scrimmage, on both the offense and defensive line. We've got 3 guys on the offensive line, and Yasir Durant, Tristan Castillo, and Trevor Sims, who've played more snaps than anybody in our league, as close to that. They've got an opportunity to leave their mark on Mizzou. Could take a number of guys into this arena and would be very proud of what they represent and what they stand for. If you move outside of the line of scrimmage on the offensive side, Jonathan Johnson is 800 yards away from being our all-time leading receiver at the University of Missouri. That means something. Well, those guys do it collectively together. We've got a really good group of 8 returning starters on offense. We've got 5 to 6 on defense, kind of whichever way that you look at it. But it's a group with experience that looks forward to carrying the momentum that we have and the opportunity that's in front of us with the challenge of our league and the way that it starts and the schedule lays out. The way that the team transformed over the offseason, they took an opportunity when we were dealt some information from the NCAA, and they took that as an opportunity and a life lesson for us. Okay, for me as a leader of the group, okay, life is not fair. Okay, for us, as you look at it, okay, what do you control? And any amount of time spent thinking on that, the what ifs, then you get off of the focus and the habits that it takes to be the successful person that we need to be and the successful team that we're going to be. We don't control any of that. Okay, so what we focused on is controlling our attitude and having absolutely zero excuses. Again, our culture has stood the test of time with this, and it will be our edge. We didn't have one player on our entire roster enter the portal system. I'm proud of that. That means that our kids are invested in wanting to be student athletes at the University of Missouri. You talk about the experience and the leadership throughout our locker room and throughout our program. Everybody's got a story on how they ended up at Mizzou, but collectively together, they're excited about.
Yeah, what he said about the portal system. They had 0 players that entered that portal system. I think that's good, to be honest with you, because look, if you're invested in your education at Missouri, look, the sky's the limit. I mean, look, you know, a lot of them just wash out and stuff like that, and just not make it. But the truth of the matter is, look, if you're committed to it, you got to stick to it. So that's my take on the transfer portal at Mizzou. So let me go ahead and play this back for you. So let's go ahead and do that.
Leaving their mark on our program and taking the Mizzou brand and continue to move it forward. So it'll be a very, very rewarding experience when you look at a locker room and the way that our group is made up. It doesn't matter where you're from or what your last name is. It doesn't matter the experiences that you've had. It shapes who we are, the work, the preparation, the foundation that we have built during that time. We've got an opportunity, and it's one of the most beautiful things when a team gets aligned in their vision and their beliefs. We've got an opportunity to do that now that we're looking at, in a very short order, about 47 days kicking this season off. So I'm thankful to be here, excited about this group, and at this time we'll open up for any questions that we've got in the room.
All right, thank you, Coach Odom. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Amanda, Jordan, and Sarah will get a microphone to you. Jordan, if we can come down here front. Again, if you'll please stand, give your name and affiliation. We'll start over here on the left with Bob.
Hey, Barry. Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. How you doing?
I'm good, Bob. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. I wanted to ask about Kelly Bryant. What do you think was the key to getting him to Missouri? How's he fit in? What is he going to bring to the table for you?
I think when Kelly stepped on campus for his official visit, we saw an interaction between him and our team in the locker room, and there was a natural fit. I think that was important. I've learned he's a very selfless person, low ego, but one of the best competitors I've ever been around. So that fit with who we are as a program and an organization. He also looks at the opportunity, when you look at the makeup of the guys returning on that side of the ball, on stepping in and the quarterback position, he's going to make some mistakes. All quarterbacks do. We need 10 guys around him to play really well. But also the fit that he had when he was on campus, there's times that through the recruiting process, you can tell the story over and over the phone or through graphics and pictures. But then you get a kid on campus, you get a prospect on campus, and they see what we have. They see the structure, the culture, the ownership of our team with our players. Everybody that touches them, they know that they're going to have success. We give them the platform to go be successful, and guys want to be part of that. They see it, they're attracted to it, and it was a very, very natural fit.
Okay, Coach, we'll go all the way in front of us, all the way towards the back.
Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Coach, you talk about Kelly and his impact. What are your overall thoughts on the transfer portal, just having gone through kind of a full year of this thing?
Yeah, the thing with how you build your roster, and it's unique for every situation. And in our opinions at Mizzou, the ways that you always want to improve your roster through recruiting in every area. And how do you build that? Okay, the approach of grad transfers, of high school, junior college. How is your program built? You've got to make sure, and we do from the inside out, that it's built that we're all in for Mizzou. I don't want a situation where a guy steps in that doesn't fit with the culture of who we are and doesn't want to do it the Mizzou way, because then the experience that they have won't be what they're looking for. So the ways through the transfer portal, I think we've been very, very open to finding out how it's going to fit, how does it work, what the opportunities are there, but also there's more time that I need before I have a firm belief in, this is a great thing or not. I look at the experiences for student athletes. For them, in the short window they've got to be a student athlete, a college student athlete, I want it to be the best experience it can be for that kid. Okay, and fortunate we are in the category that we haven't had guys leave. They've wanted to be at Mizzou. Is that going to change? I'm sure it will over time, that we'll have a player leave and enter the portal. But right now, it's too early for me to stand and say exactly how I feel the good or the bad with that. I know we've got to be really, you got to be open and really study on what's out there and what's available, because the roster management just has increased. The time that you spend on that has increased so much with those opportunities.
Okay, we'll stay in the center section, Coach, right in front of me, all the way in the back.
Hey, Barry, Brooks Cabina from The Advocate in Baton Rouge. Following up on that, I mean, you mentioned the time you spend on, looking through transfer portals and things like that, roster management and building. Just how much time do you dedicate to that? And how, whenever you looked in that, obviously with Kelly Bryant coming in, I mean, how much time do you dedicate, or maybe that's something you go with your staff? How do you manage that?
Well, I think every coach that's here today would have different ways that they run their program, and Mizzou is not unique in as much as our recruiting department. We've got a couple of guys designated in that area that help us out on all the different aspects of recruiting, and this has become one of them. So the amount of time that you spend recruiting, it's day-to-day attention to every aspect of recruiting, but also to have the idea of how you project the players at your position on your current roster, and then is in an immediate need that could step in and help us through the transfer process. I think it's different for every team, and ours, we've been able and been very fortunate to hit on guys that have come in and help us with immediate needs.
Okay, other questions, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone. We'll go right up here, up front, left.
Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. Coach, you transitioned from defensive coordinator to head coach this is your fourth season. How has your philosophy changed, and what have you learned, and now that you've set the culture for your organization as a head coach, to put your stamp on Missouri football?
Well, you're always learning from your experiences, and fortunately or unfortunately, you take some hits along the way and you learn from it. Okay, you want to make sure that the things that you do, you don't go back and make that mistake again. The things you did well, you want to find out the reasons why and continue to move it forward. I think the self-evaluation and critique is really, really important. And that's another reason I'm so thankful for our staff, is because we have open, honest conversations in our staff room. And, I don't have all the answers, but together, collectively, we find out the best answer for our team in the staff room, and we walk out the door, we're all on the same page. That's helped me more than anything. I also look at the coordinators on both sides, Derek Dooley on offense, Ryan Walters on defense. We've got a comfort level that we're playing smart football together, and we understand the times on how we're playing offensively or defensively. There's give and take on both, but together, there's staff harmony that we have right now in our room that makes us a better football team.
Coach, we'll go over on our left side, about midway back. There's a microphone.
John Adams, USA Today, Tennessee Network. Barry, you mentioned about the transfers. Nobody transferred. Back in February, you were upset with some SEC schools coming after your players. Why do you think it played out the way it did with everybody staying?
I think there's a number of reasons why it did. I think, number one, the leadership of our team inside the locker room by our players. You look at the things that they've done together, the investment they have with each other, the brotherhood, the love, and the care for each other. I think they drew a line in the sand and said, this is what we're going to do in 2019 as a team together, and they stood by it. It's a close group, and I think those opportunities that were presented to us are going to help us as we get down into the fall, into the season.
Okay, we'll have another one back up front here with Bob on the second row. Hold on, Bob, we'll get you a microphone.
Hey, Barry, I wanted to ask you, fitting in, what kind of season are you expecting from him?
Yeah, I think you always, as a coach, you want to be a great teacher. That's our job, is to be tremendous educators and put our kids in position to play well and use their skill set. So Kelly's skill set at the quarterback position allows us an opportunity in the things that he's been able to do in the vertical passing game, the intermediate passing game, play action, move in the pocket, but also some quarterback run that will help our team out. That's also his growth as a quarterback, as I saw from practice 1 to 15, the things that he was able to do that we have done previously in our offense, he has a really good grasp of that. So it allows a lot of different things that you have to defend from a defensive standpoint. And I think every quarterback obviously is a little bit unique and different, but Kelly has got a skill set that through the air or on the ground, he's going to be able to help us and gain an advantage in a number of different ways from that position. You asked about Jonathan Nance, who is a transfer, plays wide receiver. He was able to start school in January, went through winter conditioning program and then spring practice. And right now, if we lined up in the depth chart and started practice tomorrow, he'd be one of the starters at the wide receiver position. We've got a number of guys battling for those jobs, but he did a nice job understanding the scheme of what we're trying to do offensively. And by the end of spring, he was able to play to his speed because he understood the concepts and what we were asking out of the play.
Additional questions for Coach Odom, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. All right, we'll go back up to Bob.
Geez, Barry, I can't believe more people aren't asking you questions. But
Bob, we can go outside and you and I sit down and talk. If you want.
Whatever you want to do, man, it's your deal. But as far as for what I've read, it's going to probably be late this month when Missouri's administration kind of gets their hearing with the NCAA. How optimistic are you that you guys are going to get the postseason ban lifted, and just kind of what's it like having to wait for that? What's it like for you and the players?
Well, the thing I talked about with the momentum we have going in our program, the amount of time that we would spend on any of those thoughts, Bob, really it doesn't do anything for us beneficially to move our program forward. It's wasted, it's out of our control, wasted thoughts. Now, you look at the opportunity on when that's going to come about. We don't know. We anticipate that hopefully we'll get some closure soon. I am thankful for the way that our administration has approached it. I'm thankful for our legal counsel and the way that they've helped and assisted, and then an outside counsel. I also look at, it was a very aggressive approach, but also with respect. And then the way that the course goes, we'll find out and come to closure with it one way or the other in the near future. And the way that I handle that with my team will be just like I have everything else, very direct, open, and honest in where we're going, what the opportunities are, and how we're going to move past it.
Okay, we'll go right down in front, third row.
Christopher Walsh, Bama Central. The recruiting schedule, the way that the calendar's changed, and now there's so much in the summer months. Do you like the changes that have happened, or would you like to see it go back a little bit to the way it was?
Well, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth and try not to give you coach talk. But, the month of June, this kind of disappeared. I mean, you've got it's June 1st, you've got official visits, you've got camps, you've got your own kids on campus. It's flown by. It has also worked really well for the University of Missouri at this time. The momentum that we have, we've got a new building being constructed we're going to move into next week in our south end zone of our stadium. So the recruits that came on campus in June were able to go through that. And that is something that for us, for the student-athlete experience, it's been a game changer for us, and I'm excited about that. They also get to see the investment that our fans have in making Mizzou football a place and an experience that they want to be a part of. But also with the early signing in December for us now, that's become the signing date. And then, so the calendar has sped up. I hope we don't speed it up anymore. I think we need to get a grasp and kind of continue to evaluate what's best for everybody involved, from the college coach to the prospect to the high school coach and all the families that are involved with that.
Coach, we'll go over to our left, second row. Tom.
Hey, Coach Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I wanted to get your take on the SEC East. If I remember this, I think the East beat the West last year head-to-head. So your analysis of the division, if you think you guys should be a contender this season.
Well, I think the opportunity, it's the greatest league in college football, the SEC. So you look at the opportunities that we have, and we've got to go play our best game on August 31st, and everybody's going to be mad at this answer, okay? But I look at if we are our best, okay, if I do the job that I'm supposed to do in our habits and our preparation and our training and our mental approach, and it all matches up and aligns on the process that we need to have to play our best, then hopefully we get into the month of November that Commissioner Sankey mentioned earlier, and he is right. We've changed every calendar in our building. Every month is November because we've had success in that month. But hopefully we get to that point and we're in the conversation of having a chance to continue to play.
Okay, we'll stay on the left, front row. Jimmy.
Jimmy Hound, Sports Radio, Knoxville. Coach, how would you evaluate the job Derek Dooley did in his first year as offensive coordinator?
He was a great fit for us, was able to put together on that side of the ball with the offensive staff, put together a scheme that allowed our kids to use their skills and also play with confidence. He's done a tremendous job recruiting, and he also sees the big picture because he was a previous head coach. He's been good for me because I've been able to bounce ideas off of him and ask, and he's been very open and honest about his answers and things that he had success with, things that if he had a chance to do again, how he would approach it differently, and that's been good for us. It's been good for our organization. He's done a great job developing relationships within the team, and I'm thankful that we've got him back for another year.
Coach, we're going to the left side all the way in the back.
Hey, Barry. Blake Topmeyer, Knoxville News Sentinel. I think your coaching staff has 7 black assistant coaches. I think that might be the most in the SEC. How much do you keep diversity in mind when constructing your staff?
Well, you look at, I want the best coach, mentor, leader that we can have for our kids. And the approach of having diversity within our locker room and our staff, and the ideas of putting the right guys in the right spots to lead our program and our team, that's what I'm focused on. And I think we've got a tremendous staff of everybody that we've got in our room and in our entire organization. The ego is really, really low. We care about serving our kids the right way, and I'm thankful that I've got an opportunity to be the head coach with this group.
We'll stay over here on our left side, about midway.
I'm Peter Baugh, The Athletic. When you look at DeMarcus Acey, what's the biggest change you've seen in him from the day he stepped on campus freshman year?
Yeah, DeMarcus has made progress every year. The experience has helped him a great deal, and learning from those experiences. There's times that he's played at a really, really high level and has lost focus and had to rebound and come back to it. I think mentally he's in a better position. The grind of a game on what it takes to play that position, I think he's in a much better spot now. This because he's been in the battles, he understands it. I look forward to him having a great year for us.
Okay, Coach, we'll go over on the right side, but almost all the way in the back. Please stand if you can.
Mike Griffith, AJC Dog Nation. Coach, during the off season, I know there was some talk about other programs maybe approaching some of your players. Is that something you brought up with the league office, and how much of an issue could that be with the transfer portal as far as other programs actively recruiting from within other programs?
Well, we've got within our conference the leadership, William King and Greg Sankey on all those issues. I think one of the things that has helped in a lot of ways is we got open dialogue and open communication, and those guys in the leadership positions have assisted through all the different things that come across your desk. And I appreciate the approach that we took collectively, but also that there's a number of things going through that we're always trying to make our game better. The NCAA has got a number of things that legislatively we got to decide on, but it's always discussions on how to make the game better, to move it forward. And I know the count of 85 scholarships, 25 on the hard signing. Those are all discussions that we've had, and I don't know that everybody or anyone has exactly the perfect answer, but we're always moving and trying to make our game better in every area, and that would be one of them.
All right, we'll take one final question where we started, over here on the left. Bob?
Hey, Barry, I wanted to ask you about the Fayetteville guys. You got 3 players from Fayetteville on your team. I guess Byers and Powell and Bannister. And I think Bannister's on scholarship now, right? Could you talk about it? You maybe say something brief about each of those guys. Also, this is Kevin's 9th year doing this. I was just wondering, as a coach, How do you think he does? And does, how does he help make you feel comfortable and kind of run traffic control with this thing?
I lost you there for a minute, Bob. I'm going to start with your first question. I don't know where it went from there. Akil Byers will be a starter for us in some capacity on the defensive line. Has had a tremendous offseason. He's up to 290, 295, runs really well, explosive player that has made big plays for us. And so he's got great versatility. He can play either the end spots or inside. So excited about the way that he's grown in our program. Barrett Bannister came to us as a walk-on wide receiver and has earned a scholarship. Made some huge third down catches for us last year in critical times. Is exactly every day you get the best Barrett Bannister that he can be, and he's done a tremendous job. And then Taylor Powell is in the quarterback room and has developed, really had his best spring that we've seen thus far. Has continued to move his game forward, and he's going to end up helping us. All three are great teammates, and they've done such a great job on being leaders, but also being tremendous guys to share a locker room with.
All right, thank you, Coach. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, that was Coach Barry Odom. I'm gonna say this. Look, the Zoo. I'm gonna be honest with you. Look, they're gonna be an up and coming team in the SEC. With all the players that are coming back with their team, I'm gonna be honest with you. The sky's the limit for this team. Look, they might compete for the SEC East. They might compete for it. But you have to go through the Floridas of the world, the South Carolinas of the world, the Georgias, and the Tennessees. So that's and also LSU as well if they have them on the schedule. So I think this is a very potent football team, to be honest with you. I mean, sure, they're coming off a bowl win last year, but look, they have a lot to improve on, because if they want to be a legitimate SEC East contender, they have to improve week after week. So that's my take on Missouri. You can state your questions. If you got any question about the SEC, feel free to come in. State your comments on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. About the SEC, who is your favorites and why? Give me your reasons. So, only thing I ask for you to do is please keep it respectful in here. We do not want to have any incident of any kind in here where I have to cut you off. So, I'm going to give you your opportunity. So, I'm going to be fair about it and give you an opportunity to speak about your SEC team and why do you think they could be a legitimate contender either for the SEC East or the SEC West. So before we begin with our next coach, we will have them all week. Tomorrow we'll begin with Georgia's coach, Kirby Smart. He will be on. Also, Matt Luke, also Jeremy Pruitt, and also Jimbo Fish. We'll probably save Jimbo Fisher for the podcast later on in the evening, so we'll have his clip as well. So let's go ahead and play our last coach of the evening. That is Coach Dan Mullen. He is the coach of Florida, so I'm going to go ahead and switch this over. We will switch it out. So give me a few seconds to key it up, so we won't have to
development in a football career, but to make sure that he gets his degree. And we brought quarterback Felipe Franks with us, who I really think has come a long way. continues to grow, continues to develop, continues to take those steps, and in development, because especially in today's world, you look at the development of the top 25 ranked quarterbacks on all the recruiting sites in his recruiting class. 17 of them have transferred already, and he's stuck it out, and he's continued to work and stay through different adversities to continue to grow, to continue to develop, and he's starting to reap all the rewards of that now with how he finished last year. But not just those three, our whole team. I think we took great strides in our first year in the program. When you look in year one and you get a 10-win season, you finish ranked 6th in the country in the final polls, was really exciting. It showed how fast our guys bought into what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build. And we have a great group of guys coming back, a lot of talented players coming back on this year's team that now have won games and have high expectations and understand what the Gator standard is all about. And it's about competing for championships every single year. And the positive attitude that we have is really exciting. And the excitement beyond just football and what's going on in the field is great. I'm really excited. We have, we just walked in today, did the unveiling for our new locker room in the stadium, the Brian Kornblau locker room. It's unbelievable. Our players got to get in there for the first time today as we continue to work on upgrading our facilities. We're going to, within the next 12 months, we'll be breaking ground, hopefully, on our new football training facility, which will be a state-of-the-art new everyday operations facility for the football program. As well as involve other aspects for all students on campus. One of the great things you look in the Gator standard that we talk about at the University of Florida goes beyond football, goes into all sports, where every sport on campus is expected to compete for and win championships, both SEC and national championships. And it's great. I love having our players around all those other student athletes, all these successful athletes in other sports. And then when you leave the athletic field and you get to go to the classroom and to be a school, one of the only school in America that was ranked in the top 10 in academics and top 10 in football of public schools in America last year. And they're going out against the premier students every single day and working with and studying with and associating with and networking with and competing with some of the top students in the United States. The complete package that comes with it, and that's really what we believe the Gator standard to be, is about being the absolute best that you can be at whatever it is that you're doing. So our guys have really bought into that. I think we had a great off season. The strides our guys took coming in, getting ready for year two. We need to take a huge step forward for us this year. I think we had a lot of success last year, but our consistency of performance is something I want to see us change to perform at a high level every single game, every single week, every single play. The consistency of our performance to continue to improve. So I was going to use all 30 minutes and ramble on, but then you guys would be upset that no one got to ask any questions. So let's open it up to some questions.
All right. Thank you, Coach Mullen. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. We've got Amanda, Jordan, and Sarah. We'll start right over here to our left, Coach, third row.
Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. Coach Mullen, you've done a great job developing quarterbacks during your time at Mississippi State and with the Gators. What did you think Felipe Franks improved? What aspect of his game did you think improved the most last year?
Well, I think as the year went on, I think he understood what his abilities were, and he decided to use all of his talents. I think a light came on that I'm 6'6", 245 pounds, and pretty athletic, and if they're going to just completely empty the middle of the field and I can run into the end zone from 20 yards away untouched, that I could do that. And I think when he bought into using all of his skill set to play and not trying to limit himself or not trying to worry really about what everybody else thought, he was going to be a better player, and he did that. I think he started to block out all the outside noise, all the other opinions. I told him, I said, if you think if you know of all these other opinions that are out there of how to play the quarterback position, if there's someone better than Brian Johnson, let me know. I'll hire them to be our quarterback coach. But I think he's a pretty darn good quarterback coach. I have some pretty good experience developing quarterbacks as well. But Felipe, if you think everybody on Twitter is much better at that, to coach us, let us know. We'll look at them as being the quarterback coach. So I think once he was able to block all of the things out, all of the outside noise, and really look at his skill set, what he does well, he was able to improve, and I think that helped build his confidence and improved his performance on the field. And I thought he took huge strides this spring as well of doing that, of now not just understanding himself, but how to use his skill set and a better understanding of making plays within the offensive system.
Hey, Coach, we'll go over to the left, about 3/4 of the way back.
Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. Coach, how important is that Miami game in Orlando to open the season as far as keeping the momentum going that you guys built at the end of last year in the bowl game?
Well, I think it's huge. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that game. We're the opening game of the 150th year of college football, so it's a great honor to just even be involved in that game. You have everyone that's been really can't wait for college football to start. We get to kick the season off with getting to watch Florida play Miami, and on top of it being a big rivalry game. Within the state of Florida. And, it's not one that's played all the time, but there's a lot of tradition in that game, and there's a lot of people that have very strong opinions and are happy that game's being played, and to get to see that rivalry be played is really exciting. And to start off the season. It is a huge, it's going to be a huge, kind of catapult for one of the teams, whoever wins that game, into really kicking off the season on the right note with a big win and a big game with a lot of national exposure. So that's a big game for us. It's exciting to be a part of it, and I know our players are excited to play in it.
Coach will stay in the center section on the right aisle.
Dan, what was Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South? What was your reaction to hearing that Felipe had been drafted by the Red Sox?
Well, as a Red Sox fan, that they do need a lot of help in the bullpen. It looks like we've been struggling that way, but he, I think he can throw. He's got a lot of heat. He said he threw it 95 in the workout for him. I've seen, though, he's still working on his accuracy, so I don't know if I'd want to get in the batter's box if he's throwing 95. But I think it's, I think it's great for him. It's a great honor for him to get to go have that opportunity. There's another quarterback that I coached that, I don't know if anybody's heard him. He's this kind of minor league ball player right now, plays for the AAA Mets, named Tim Tebow, and he's managing to try to pick up baseball. So maybe when football's done, maybe he has a future in baseball, and that'd be really exciting for him. I'd be really happy for him. I'm glad it was the Red Sox. I'm a big Red Sox fan, so if one of our guys got to go to a team, I'd love it to be the Red Sox.
All right, Coach will stay in the center aisle, left aisle.
Sam Blum from AL.com. I'm curious, what you've seen from Diabate and just kind of the challenges of maybe recruiting players from a opposition's college town.
You know what? I think he's done a great job. Obviously, he's such a high-end character young man, and he's a great academic student. So I know that the draws of coming to the University of Florida for him and his family as such a great, not just football player, but academic student as well, were huge. And I think, he's got a great attitude and a great work ethic, and had a pretty solid spring for us. Obviously, it's making that adjustment, and want to see how that adjustment translates onto the field as young players. He's still a young guy, but by graduating early, I do think sometimes you give yourself that advantage of getting to go through an off season to understand what it is, and you get to physically develop a little bit better, and it gives you that opportunity to get on the field and play right away as a freshman.
Coach will go all the way to the back of the right side.
Hi, Luke Guillory from the Red and Black. Commissioner Sankey talked about mental health in his opening, and you've talked a lot about academics. Is that something you focus on within your program, the stress on players on the field and off the field in the classroom?
Absolutely. I think, one of the things you look at our players is they come on. I think a lot of things, there's lots of different pressures on them. There are guys that on a Saturday, a lot of people come watch them play, and a lot of people, think, boy, these guys are these, celebrity football stars. Monday morning, they still got to go to class with everybody else. They still got to make sure they're turning in their papers, getting their assignments done, get in the classroom, and complete their degree and continue to work that way. So there are those pressures that come from them, not just the time responsibilities and the physical strain of playing football, but the emotional responsibilities of the pressure of being 19 years old, and having everybody really critique your performance. And then, just that maturity. College is such a big maturing time for young people. You think of that 18 to 22 years old, and how you learn about yourself, find out about yourself. A lot of guys, it's their first time ever being away from home, and you're growing and you're finding out about yourself. And a lot of these guys are doing it under a spotlight with a lot of people watching them and critiquing everything that they do. So I think it's huge. We spend a lot of time with our team on developing every aspect of their life, of maintaining not just their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, and allowing them to continue to grow and develop in every way possible and expose them to as much as possible so that they can learn. Our ultimate responsibility for me as the head coach is to make sure that, when these guys walk out the door, that they're prepared for whatever the world's going to throw at them. I think everybody gets caught up in the 1% that go on to play professional football. But there's a lot of guys in our program that have a whole life ahead of them to go leave, and we have to make sure that they're prepared for whatever life is going to go throw at them.
Coach, we'll go straight in front of us here in the second row.
Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Dan, everybody says college football needs a rivalries really bad, and we know they do. Florida has more rivalries than most teams do, as you know quite well. In particular, one that resides in the state up above where you operate. There's been a lot of talk between the two schools, the fans at least, a lot this summer, more than usual. Good thing, bad thing, and do you sense there's more talk about Florida, Georgia?
I don't know. I think the rivalries, one thing that is unique for us, as you said, you have the different rivalries that we deal with. And I think one of the things, if you can find a Florida fan and I don't know if you'll find a consensus one way or the other, this is our biggest rivalry or that's our biggest rivalry. And I think that makes it fun. The rivalries are what's special. For us, obviously, every game that we play is really important. The rivalry games always have a little bit more meaning to them. But I don't know that one's bigger than the other for us, and I think I think if you look at the fans, I think maybe if you look at the Florida-Georgia rivalry, and it is a unique deal because it has a lot of implications on who's going to win the SEC East. If you look at Florida State rivalry, it has a lot of implications on people that are neighbors and live next to each other and within the state boundaries. And so I think they're very unique in their own way of what makes the rivalry special.
Okay, we're going to go back here on the right side, right here alongside the aisle.
Ryan Lavoie, Sports Call Auburn. Coach Mullen, do you have any interest talking about that Florida-Georgia rivalry of making it into a campus game, both in Athens and in Gainesville, or do you like that it's a neutral site in Jacksonville?
You know what? I think you can make an argument either way. I think being in the neutral site, obviously, it makes it a very special game, a very unique game that you get to go coach in. There's not many of those in college football. If you look at those every year traditional neutral site games, right? And I might be off on it. I know there's Florida, Georgia, there's Texas, Oklahoma, and there's Army, Navy. I don't know if there's any more than that. If I am, I don't want to offend a rivalry out there. But that's something special to say that you got to play in this very special, unique game. But you can also see and make the argument on the other way of how big a game it is. You're taking one of your biggest rivalry games every year and you're moving it off campus where you can't host that in your home stadium for your fans, all your season ticket holders for recruiting. I think that you can make arguments on both sides of why it should stay in Jacksonville, why it should leave Jacksonville and be a home and home. And it's interesting. I think, it'll be interesting discussion in the next couple of years is when the contract runs up of what the future is going to be for that game.
Okay, we're going to stay on the right side, Coach, about 3/4 of the way back. If you could stand. Thank you.
Coach, Ben Portnoy from Commercial Dispatch. Just at Mississippi State, year 1 to year 2, y'all obviously made a big jump. Is there anything you can maybe apply from, say, that situation to this year's? And I guess, obviously, having jumped to 10 wins last year, is there what maybe goes into jumping from, say, 10 to 11 or 12?
Well, let's hope we make the same jump we did there. So I think we went from 5 to 9 or 10, 9. That's 4. So if we can go from 10 to 14, that would be pretty good. This year, I would take that. But I think a lot of it, comes from year 1 to year 2. I think coming in now, everyone understands the program. So when you come in last year, when you show up in January and you're going through the off season, it's the first time the guys had ever done it. They're going through spring ball. They didn't really always know what to expect out there on the field. Even though you can talk about it, they'd never physically done it. Then you go through summer and training camp and in season. We go to play our first game and your first pregame meal. It's like, okay, how does this work? I think in year 2, there's a lot more comfort within the program. Our guys knew what to expect to come into the offseason. It's easier to attack the offseason, and I think we've made bigger gains in a lot of ways this offseason than we did last year. I think, a lot of last year's are dramatic gains because, it's very different than what they've done. But this year, there's a better understanding of what we're trying to accomplish so you can make big gains. In spring ball, we go out on the practice field. There's no question or doubts. When we go to drills, everybody knows what the expectations are. They've run the offense and run the defense. So I think that gives you an opportunity to have a big jump in the second season. Obviously, I think we had a great year last year, but we'd love it to be even better this year.
Coach, we'll go on this left aisle of this center section in the back.
Hey, Dan. Brooks Gabina from The Advocate in Baton Rouge. There seems to be a trend, at least at LSU, with defenses looking for one-on-one matchups, even going away from standard positions in the secondary and linebackers to get those. Just offensively, have you noticed that, and how do you attack that offensively?
Well, I think if you look at football, there is a very much of a matchup game. It's something that I think we started to really work on about 15 years ago when we created the offense, is how to create advantageous matchups out there on the field, is how to take, how to work to get one of our better players or our best players on one of your weaker players. And so I think that was always a big focus that we have. And I think if you look at football at the next level, at the NFL, I think that's a huge focus in the NFL of how do they create different matchups on the field. Well, because of that, I think defenses have done a great job throughout the years of trying to adjust to that. If you're creating this matchup over here offensively, how do we defend and not allow you to create a huge advantageous matchup on you? And it's just part of the chess game back and forth.
Hey, Coach, we'll go over to our right here in the second row.
Coach Alan Bider from the New York Times. There was no turnover this offseason among head coaches in the SEC. How do you see that translating to your field prep or your game prep and your on-field work?
I don't know. We don't play everybody in the league, so I guess it's only tricky when you're playing somebody new. But there were some coordinator changes as well, so you're going to have to deal with that part of it. Whoever's calling the plays and how you adjust to those things. But it was good, pretty interesting that there wasn't turnover this year. This is my 11th year being here at SEC Media Days, and this might be the first time in those 11 years that when we go to our league meeting, we go to the spring meetings, and it's all same 11. The other 13 people are the same. It was 11 for a while. And 13 people are all the same, so I don't know that that's happened before, but I think it's unique. I think it's great. I do think there's a lot to building programs. I was very fortunate. I got to spend 9 years at Mississippi State University. In that time, I was allowed to go build a program that could potentially win consistently. I know it's tough in today's world because everybody wants instant gratification. But I was able to build a program that could win consistently there. And that's the same thing I want to accomplish at the University of Florida, is come in and build a program that not just wins, but also competing for championships on a consistent basis. And to do that, sometimes that takes time. And I guess it's good to see that people are looking in and saying, hey, if we feel comfortable with the direction our program's headed, we're gonna be patient with this and give this coach an opportunity to go build it, to go have success over the long haul.
Coach, we'll go here to our left in the front row. Parrish.
Parrish Alford Daily Journal. Dan, what was your take on Van Jefferson, how he adapted to new surroundings and your expectations for him?
Well, I think Van, coming in and being a first-year player in our program, he worked hard. Came in, worked his tail off in the off-season, put on some weight and some size, got faster, and then went out and performed. He's a worker. He's one of those guys that is constantly working every day on being a better route runner, working on his hands, studying the game, understanding the game. And I think that translated into a lot of the success. He was our leading receiver last year, and coming back this year, I think he's a guy also has great maturity to understand and saying, okay, here's the parts of my game that I need to, as all of our guys do, have great aspirations of going on and playing professional football. But he has the maturity to understand, here's parts of my game I can continue to work on to put myself in a position to be completely prepared when I get an opportunity to go to the next level. And he's done that all spring and has had a tremendous spring and has really adapted well into the program, into what we do and how we run the program. And it's really great. Our program's about hard work. And that's something he believes in. So I think it's a great fit for him to be in a program that really has the same values that he has.
Coach will go straight in front of us here on the front row.
Coach, we know Joe Bombo, SB Nation Radio. We know you've always talked about this system being sort of like a 2-year process, and clearly you guys hit the ground running last year. How do you control the narrative that the bar could possibly be set too high, and going into this year, what's your message to those guys?
Well, I like to set the bar really high. I don't know if there's anybody out there that has higher expectations for this team and for the program as a whole than I do. So we like to set that bar high, and we're constantly striving to be the absolute best that we can be. So I don't always let expectations bother me. I kind of like them. Having expectations, and I like guys in our program to have expectations and expect great things from themselves, expect great things from the team, and expect great things from the program. So instead of shying away from them, embrace those expectations, and try to live up to them, and to be honest with you, try to surpass the expectations that are out there for you as a team and for us as a program. And I think if you do that, you're going to have the opportunity to be successful. And that's something we've always tried to live by.
Okay, Coach, we'll go back over here to our right on the second row. Microphone coming up behind you.
Coach, Matt Lowe with Lindy Sports. Just wanted to get your, what about the transfer portal? Do you think there should be some kind of a timetable where kids can transfer, and what kind of challenges does that present as far as managing your roster?
Well, being new, I think it offers a great deal of challenges right now for everybody. And, I think one of the hard ones is finding the balance of, the signing limitations that the NCAA has. And I understand it. Having worked on NCAA committees, I'm understanding why they have those and the reasoning for them. But also, if you're going to have the transfer portal and this many guys enter the transfer portal in 1 year, I think you also have to look and say, okay, well, we've changed a rule over here, so we have to be willing to change a rule over here to make it fit, to allow coaches to be able to best manage the roster and allow programs to manage their roster. I think it'll be something. I think it'll still be probably, some rough waters still for the next couple of years for everybody involved. The players that are transferring, the programs that that have guys transferring in and out of, and obviously the NCAA and different leagues at the administrative level of what the trends are and how to go work with it. Right? I think I read somewhere there's more kids in the transfer portal than scholarships available. So that doesn't make a lot of sense for those kids. It means kids are going to be left without, and kids are going to be put in a bad situation. Potentially, some it'll work out for some, not for others, and that's always a rough deal. So I'd be interested to see how it goes over the next couple of years within transfers, and for these kids, hey, I've had a guy on the transfer portal and come to me and say, Coach, it's good, right? I'm going to be immediately eligible where I can go play there next year. I don't think so. I think you have to, that school's going to have to file a waiver for you. For the NCAA, and well, can you say yes? I said, the NCAA says yes. I don't control who's eligible and not in the NCAA. So I think there's a lot of a learning curve that goes on, and there's going to continue to be a lot of learning curve for both players, coaches, and administrations within the transfer portal for the next couple of years until everybody adapts to it. There's going to be a new norm, though, in college football. It's going to be very different than it's been. And I think as everybody learns to adapt to it and what the best way is to adapt to it, we'll see over the next several years.
Okay, we have time for maybe one more. If anybody has one, we'll come back up here and finish on the right-hand side, second row.
Hey, Coach. Bruce Marshall from Sports Byline USA. Quick question about players coming out early. And in comparison to basketball, which seems to allows a little bit more time for the players to judge. They have camps, they can pull their name out. On the football side, it happens really quick, especially for teams that play in bowl games, and that process seems to really be rushed. Is that an optimal way to do it, or do you think something more like basketball is more appropriate?
But I'd have to really study the basketball way. I study our way because I know that's the reality that we live in right now. And so what's the best way for me? As a head coach, I try as best as I can to educate guys and to help and allow them to make great decisions, for the short term and obviously for their long-term futures. And I think it is. I think one of the hardest things we do deal with is making sure that guys get the proper information and make great decisions. I've seen guys make really good decisions declaring early for the NFL draft, and I've seen guys make really good decisions coming back to school. And staying to continue their growth and development. You see guys that make really poor decisions leaving early for the NFL draft, where that really hurt them, and they could have had a lot more success if they had stayed. I haven't seen many that have decided to stay and that hurt them. So I'm sure there's one or a couple of cases out there. But to me, it is making sure that they have the knowledge and the understanding to make the best decisions for themselves and for the future. And and I always hope that guys make the right ones. That's the biggest one for me is I hope they make the right ones because, my concern is not just short term, but their long-term future, that they're making the best decision for them, for their future and their lives.
All right, Coach Mullen, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thanks everybody. We'll see you. Enjoy the rest of the summer. Get ready for some football. Go get.
Yep. This is Coach Mullen. I'm going to be honest with you. This Florida football team, I'm going to be honest with you. And I kid you not. This team is definitely going to be an SEC East contender. It's highly amazing how they changed from 5 to 7. They had a 5-7 record a couple of years ago when Dan Mullen was hired to 9 to 10 wins a year. That's amazing. That's amazing turnaround in those 2 years that he was the head coach with Florida. So I'm going to be honest with you. Look, if he can keep this team on track, the sky's the limit. Without a shadow of a doubt. So that's my take on it. If you have an opinion about the Florida football team, you can state your opinion via Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. We have people in there right now, Richard Anderson, and also Fox 87 from Facebook. If you're on YouTube, you can come in as well. Also, if you're on Periscope, and also if you're on Twitch. So let's go ahead and switch this out. We'll have our last podium guy. It will be Greg Sankey. He is the SEC commissioner with the SEC. He's going to explain how the SEC is getting ready for the 2019 college football season, which is celebrating their 150th anniversary of college football. So let's begin with Greg Sankey. So let's go ahead. So let's switch this over. We should have this up in a few seconds. Give me 1 second to switch it. Please remember we do have the recorders on so we can have it on the podcast. It will be on the Anchor app. You can go to anchor.fm. That's anchor.fm, and you can search for the podcast and hear the entire interviews of these coaches. So let me go ahead and play Commissioner Greg Sankey is the SEC commissioner. Let me go ahead and switch it up.
Wireless network claims are so
speak and visit through the week. I know there's interest in where we conduct media days next year. So I'm pleased to announce that will be in Las Vegas. Oh, I'm kidding. That's where our new bowl game is. Just wanted to make sure people are paying attention. I think some of you may need massages after I watch your necks snap up. We are happy to have the Las Vegas Bowl in our inventory beginning in 2020. Next year, after the success in Atlanta last year, we will return to Atlanta for football media days. We will use the Chick-fil-A College Football Hall of Fame once again as our base. Media days will stay on the move in 2021, and we will go to the Music City and enjoy the new Grand Hyatt Nashville for media days. We appreciate the hospitality here in Hoover and at the Winfrey this week, and we look forward to the new opportunities in the future. The season ahead includes a celebration of college football's 150th anniversary. The SEC will be a part of that, like everyone else, as our football student athletes display commemorative patches upon their uniforms. The league will also, through its athletics communications directors, celebrate 150 of the finest moments of SEC football. Those will not be selected by the commissioner. So if someone gets angry about whether or not a moment is part of the 150th best, it won't be me. We will be, however, releasing those moments and announcing them through social media and over the SEC network throughout the season. We made history back in 2014. As Disney CEO Bob Iger said, we launched the most successful channel in the history of cable television. It's a Joe DiMaggio-like standard, one that we expect will stand the test of time. On August 14th, the SEC network will celebrate a hard-to-believe 5th anniversary already. And that's a tribute to the passion of our fans, the commitment and the hard work of the personnel on our university campuses, their support, student athletes that comprise our teams, and the hard work and dedication of the team at ESPN. We look forward to continuing to innovate and serve sports fans uniquely through an authentic SEC experience, and we want to stand second to none among all of our peers. On Tuesday, you're going to hear more about the SEC network, both our programming plans for 2019 and how we celebrate this 5th anniversary when Chris Turner, ESPN's vice president for day-to-day operations of the network, joins you in this room. Tonight, there's a special program, something we call Homecoming. It's our 4th episode, hosted by Paul Feinbaum. Tonight's feature at 7 Eastern, 6 Central is on Titus O'Neil. If you're not familiar with Titus, that's his ring name in WWE. He was known as Thaddeus Bullard during his playing days at Florida. All of the stories we've told on Homecoming that Paul has been a part of helping us tell have been interesting stories. The story of Titus, or Thaddeus, is absolutely remarkable, and I encourage people to tune in at 7 tonight. As part of the effort to stand out from our peers, we've been working for over 2 years with the folks from ESPN Films, the SEC Storied program, and this year on the SEC Network, we will debut Saturdays in the South, a history of SEC football, for 90 minutes every Tuesday, beginning at 9 Eastern. This 8-part series will first take us back to the late 1800s. You will hear stories of greased railroad tracks, an era before the SEC chant was ever heard, and will weave tales through the decades to the modern era of success experienced now by the Southeastern Conference. Tomorrow, in this room, we will have 3 of the SEC's legendary figures here to visit with you: Archie Manning, Herschel Walker, and Steve Spurrier. Archie, Steve, and Herschel will also join us later Tuesday evening along with many of you downtown in the Lyric Theater for a special premiere of portions of Saturday in the South. This will become, I am certain, because it's a high-quality production, appointment viewing every week on Tuesday evenings, not only for SEC football fans, but for college football fans. We leave now history behind because we're mindful of the changes happening around college athletics every day. Those changes often affect the Southeastern Conference, given our position, and legalized sports gambling and its accessibility is one of those changes confronting us all. The SEC presidents and chancellors have expressed strong support for NCAA national office efforts to seek federal legislation that will regulate sports gambling. Ideally, there would be uniform practices applicable across states throughout the country governing gambling on college sports, particularly eliminating specific in-game betting and proposition bets on college sports. As I stated last year, it may be ideal for us not to experience any expansion in sports gambling. What is needed now is for our state and federal legislative leaders to enact policies, oversight, and to fund enforcement of those policies and laws to make sure we are protecting the integrity of our games and supporting properly our student athletes and the students even on our campus. With those observations in mind, let me just identify emerging reality between sports gambling and mental health.
Let me give you a little a tidbit on this on sports gambling. Look, it will never go away. They can have all the regulations they want, but as long as sports gambling is around, they're not gonna crack down on it, because look, a lot of people bet on college football games. You could bet your bottom dollar on it. I mean, and I kid you not. I mean, sure, they could try, but try to nip it in the butt. But the truth of the matter is, it won't happen because it will continue. I tell you that now. I mean, sure, I'm for the regulations, but they'll find loopholes. They'll absolutely find loopholes. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out loopholes. So he thinks that he's going to stop sports betting on college football. They're sadly mistaken. So that's my take on it. We'll go back to Commissioner Sankey. We'll let you listen to him.
Reward for participating in college sports is to challenge oneself on a campus athletically and academically, and to deal with the pressures present in the competitive environment. Yet we're seeing trends in the mental health area that should cause us all to pause before these ideas around specific event betting within college sports are allowed to take place. And I'm talking about, for example, whether a field goal is made or missed, whether a three-point try is successful, is a pitched ball a strike or a ball. That pause should happen before any of these types of activities take place, because if you were part of a student-athlete advisory committee meeting in the SEC 10 years ago, you would have commonly discussed campus parking issues and answering the question, why do I have to return my textbooks at the end of the semester? Now, at every meeting, our student athletes themselves asked to discuss issues around mental health. They share their stories, the stories of their colleagues, both those on their team, those within the conference, and those outside the conference. The perspectives on mental health represent not a ripple of change, but a wave of new reality which faces all of us in intercollegiate athletics and in higher education. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver identified it at an even higher competitive level when he spoke at MIT's Sloan Analytics Conference this spring. He observed that in sports we're seeing something that's really part of a larger societal issue. His quote was this: "I don't think it's unique to these players. I don't think it's something that's just going on around superstar athletes. I think it's a generational issue." End of quote. San Diego State University psychology professor Jean Twenge, who's one of the world's leading experts on generational differences in American youth, said this, quote, "It's not an exaggeration to describe iGen or Generation Z as being on the brink of the worst mental health crisis in decades." The end of her quote. You know, those remarks are sobering, not just for student athletes, but for young people as they go from adolescence to adulthood. In January, the 5 autonomy conferences adopted new minimum requirements for provision of mental health counseling for student athletes. I'm pleased to say that for the Southeastern Conference, we meet or exceed those requirements. But at the end of June this year, we asked our student athletes during our leadership forum, student athletes from every one of our sports, we asked them for their input on campus mental wellness support, what's working, what programs overall are offered, and what ideas they have on how the Southeastern Conference office can better support them and their teammates. Moving forward, just as we support academic counselors through collaboration, through communication, and through sharing recommendations, the same with our sports medicine directors, our mental health counselors will be brought in as part of the conversation within the conference to determine how best in moving forward we support the student athletes of the Southeastern Conference. Our student athlete leadership groups, as you can imagine, also engage in dialogue about issues related to name, image, and likeness, but more specifically, compensation issues and the financial support provided to student athletes. They noticed in May when the NCAA announced a working group to look at federal and state legislative initiatives happening around this NIL concept. If you've studied any of this, you know the NCAA's timeline is quick for an issue that's been percolating for years. We operate in a world that changes frequently. In fact, probably all of us have observed the world is changing more frequently now than ever before, but the reality is that change is a constant. What's also a constant is the need to identify informed, relevant principles to guide decision-making. As is everyone in intercollegiate athletics, we're interested in contributing to and hearing from the NCAA's working group to monitor the governmental activity at the state and federal level and to properly represent our position in existing litigation. As it relates to change and attention, the sports officiating environment may be at the top of that list. We know there's an ongoing need for self-examination, and so last September in the SEC office, we began an intentional effort to look closely at how we best support our officiating programs, particularly in the sport of football. I shared at our spring meetings. We had spent much of the spring working with Deloitte Consulting's advisory practice when they were engaged in conducting an external review of our football officiating program. This was not triggered by a game or a play or a series of issues. What I told our coaches in February is, just like them, I never want us to be complacent. I'm interested continually in how we improve. So we asked Deloitte, as part of their external review, to conduct 3 specific tasks. One, to conduct interview stakeholders. Stakeholder interviews, strike that, reverse it, for those of you who are Willy Wonka fans. Stakeholder interviews. To conduct stakeholder interviews. They did so with our 14 head football coaches, our 14 athletics directors, a group of football officials, and a group of former student athletes and former SEC head football coaches. The second thing we asked was for them to perform data analytics using game reports and our officiating performance reviews. And the third part was to compare our policies against those of other sporting entities, both domestic and international. Here's what we've learned so far. When our policies and procedures were compared with others, we compared favorably. You'll hear in a moment about some adjustments we learned may be helpful. The feedback from those interviewed indicates SEC officials are perceived to better manage the game when compared to their peers. Third, our coaches, athletics directors, and our officials express trust and confidence that the leadership of the SEC office is committed to supporting the highest quality officiating program. Next, there's an open line of communication between the SEC's coordinator of football officials, Steve Shaw, and our head coaches, something for which our head coaches are appreciative and they respect Steve's responsiveness. Steve's approach and his schedule of providing weekly officiating evaluation feedback is helpful to and trusted by our head football coaches. The collaborative replay process speeds up decision making and produces more correct outcomes in which our membership has expressed confidence. In fact, our replay process operates on each play 10 seconds faster than the national average and produces more correct outcomes than the old in-stadium process. We also learned something interesting, and that is both our head coaches and our officials want to improve their working relationship. As a result of the feedback, one of the first adjustments we made was to invite a group of referees, our white hats, to Destin to spend time in a facilitated conversation with our head football coaches to hear each side's view of challenges and the realities before, during, and after football games. We will do the same thing in a different format with those groups next spring. We are adding to our collaborative replay process a sideline monitor that will allow the on-field football officials to view the play and communicate with the in-stadium replay booth and the replay officials in the conference's video center. One of the benefits, in addition to the extra voice in the process, will be the ability to better explain replay decisions from the official to our head coaches on the field. In August, our officiating crews will travel across the conference for a 2-day camp during preseason practice involving each of our teams. We're obviously sending different officiating groups to different campuses. During those 2 days, they'll participate in position meetings, engage in on-field practices, discuss rules and techniques with coaches and student athletes to improve the understanding of football rules and officiating mechanics and foster that communication. We've also added to the number of outside officiating evaluators. During the year, behind the scenes, 20,000 football plays, every play of the season, are reviewed by film graders. There are 20, some of whom are specialists at each position filled by an official. Those inform our grading system. Each of those evaluators have officiated at the highest level of college football, and many have NFL officiating experience, including playoff experience. For years, the Southeastern Conference has maintained a clear policy governing potential conflicts of interest involving game officials. We are finalizing updates to this policy, which will be made available and communicated publicly in August. We also learned how much data is compiled around officiating. Because of that, we also learned we need to do more in the area of analysis, particularly, if you will, segmented analysis, and not just in football officiating. And we'll be adding to our staff and using outside resources for what is commonly known as the analytics area. In the area of communicating with and through the media, there is a new reality put upon us. And that is, we have officiating experts who now have been invited into the broadcast booth to share their opinions. During game broadcast, commentary will from time to time focus extensively on officiating decisions and communicate opinions, whether those opinions are right or wrong. And social media provides a platform for often ill-informed judgments around officiating. Some of our new communication strategies have already been apparent. For example, we've invited members of the media, some of you in this room, to participate as officials in spring football games to understand the realities of officiating the game of football. You'll hear from Steve Shaw twice this week. Tomorrow afternoon, he will talk about rules changes and points of emphasis. We've added a session on Wednesday where Steve will talk about how our football officials are recruited, trained, evaluated, and the conference's accountability process. for its officiating program, along with a You Make the Call and accountability built in for each of you participating. In conjunction with the SEC Network, we expect and are exploring strategies to inform viewers about officiating decisions and to educate throughout the day, game day, through this platform. We're launching a website today, secsports.com/officiating. It is lightly populated at the moment, but we will add educational videos, rules information, and some of the policies that I just referenced that are being updated. We'll do that across the board for our sports. We're also exploring opportunities to be more engaged and active on social media. That does not mean we will spend all day Saturday tweeting about other people's officials, nor about ours. But we do recognize there are opportunities to engage and explain in ways we haven't previously explored. I have great confidence in the SEC membership through our process has expressed great confidence in the leadership of Steve Shaw, who's respected nationally, which is why Steve was named the NCAA's football rules secretary editor. But the reality is football is an incredibly dynamic game played at high rates of speed, which demands instant decision making. We have honorable people filling the SEC's officiating roster, people who approach their work with the highest degree of integrity and the highest commitment to fairly officiate each and every game. Yet officials, just like coaches and players, are human, and our elusive goal of perfection will remain elusive. Yet, we're not going to become complacent, and we'll continue to seek this effort, this expectation of perfection through constant improvement. Changes and change fill our days. There's a lot going on. I know you're ready to ask me questions. There are a few more points that I want to share, a few more thoughts, some of them about the continuing success we achieve and enjoy in this great conference. In 2018-19, the Southeastern Conference graduated 71,000 students from our campuses. It's an enormous...
I want to say something about the SEC officials. Look, it's very imperative that we have these type of systems in place to get the calls right and absolutely correct. Because the truth of the matter is, look, some of the SEC officials do get the calls wrong, but look, with these systems in place, this will solidify the calls that's wrong, and they can be corrected instantly. I mean, just because, look, if they have these systems, does not mean they're going to get it right 99% of the time. They're most likely going to get it right, I can say, between 70 and 80% of the time. Make no mistake about it. So that's the thing he was talking about the SEC officiating. They have all kind of classes and schools that they go to, and then also they'll have a rules official expert on in the booths explaining to the broadcasters and also the viewers that are watching the TV about these initial rules and regulations in this in football this year for the SEC. I mean, look, we got to, like I said, as fans, we have to trust what the SEC commissioner and the SEC league office is doing. Doesn't mean, look, we can't criticize them because, look, you're going to have fans out there criticizing these SEC officials. They're going to be saying all kind of stupid stuff on social media where it's going to be, oh, it's rigged and blah, 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 blah. No. Look, if they can get the call right with these systems, look, it will help out the game in the long run. So let's go ahead and finish up with the SEC commissioner. We'll see what else he's going to say.
Impact on our region, the nation, and the world. We had 61 teams earn public recognition awards from the NCAA for their academic progress rate, and 57 teams have perfect APR scores of 1,000. That's continuing progress academically. We celebrated Georgia's Katira Orji, who was named the NCAA's Woman of the Year. We led the nation in football attendance for the 21st consecutive year. We had half of the most highly viewed televised football games, and again, had the most highly viewed conference championship game, filling completely Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. We won 5 national championships this past year and finished second in national championship competition on 5 other occasions. We also had over 2 million fans attend SEC baseball games, more than double the next highest conference. Having an SEC team finish like Vanderbilt did as national champions is a nice way to move into summer. Summer being defined as the 18 days between Game 3 of the College World Series and today. But it also reminds us of the opportunity to better support baseball, softball, and other sports in 2 key areas. As you know, the SEC submitted a legislative proposal to the NCAA to facilitate transition of the baseball volunteer coach role to one of a full-time coach. No one who opposed the SEC's proposed legislation observed that 4 coaches in baseball or softball, a head coach, 2 assistants, and the volunteer, no one observed that that's too many coaches. In fact, if the number of coaches is correct, why do we maintain a structure like this? It's time for change to this rule. And in another area, that of equivalency scholarships, our athletics directors and senior women administrators, and a rule that affects baseball, softball, track and field, and any number of sports, have started a deep exploration as to the whys and the history and what new options may be available for us in the future in providing scholarships to student athletes. We expect to provide information and a perspective to the NCAA during the next academic year. Through all of that and all the other activity that occurs through the year, I am confident still the best days of this conference, the Southeastern Conference, are ahead. And as is our tradition, I'm going to ask Kevin to come to the stage, and he's going to manage our question and answer session.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have time for a couple of questions. We've got Amanda, Jordan, and Sarah. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Okay, we'll start right down here at the front.
Okay, what he insinuated about the graduation rates. The APRs are doing very spectacular. And that's one thing they emphasize is their education. That's one thing they absolutely emphasize. Also on the SEC network, they're celebrating their 5th anniversary. It started back in August of 2014. The SEC network is grown into a juggernaut network that has SEC sports content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, look, I strongly urge if you have the cable network, you have whatever, strongly watch the SEC network, and you'll be able to get them on air and online. So, on that note, we will conclude tonight's show. We will have another Conference Media Days tomorrow. We couldn't get to the American Conference Media Days. We'll probably get to that tomorrow, along with the SEC Media Days. So we'll have that tomorrow as well. We'll be on tomorrow. Okay. On that note, let me switch this out. This concludes tonight's Sports Talk with Kerry Wehmeyer show for Monday, July 15th. Once again, we'll be back on tomorrow with SEC Media Days. and also we'll save the American Conference. We'll have that for the podcast, which will be tomorrow night. So we'll have both SEC Media Days and also American Conference Media Days as well. So we'll have both broadcasts tomorrow. The SEC Media Days will be on the SEC Network Plus, and the American Conference Media Days will be on Facebook Live. That will be on the American Digital Network. You can go to American Digital Network Facebook page and see if you can give them a like or something like that on their page. So, on that note, like, share, subscribe. Sports Talk with Kerry Wehmeyer on Facebook. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. Also, you can follow me on WordPress, and also you can follow me on Tumblr. The addresses are at the bottom of your screen if you see it. The first one is facebook.com/Kerry Wehmeyer, Kerry.Wehmeyer on Facebook. Also, you can follow me on Instagram as well. That's Sports Talk 2505. That's Sports_Talk 2505. Also, you can follow me at Sports Talk 78. That's the WordPress page. Also, you can follow me on Reddit. That's reddit.com/user/LSU_Tulane2505. That's LSU_Tulane2505. Also, you can follow me on Tumblr. That is at tumblr.com/sportstalk78. That's you got to if you search for it, search Sports Talk and the number 78. Also, you can follow me on the Facebook Sports Talk Kerry Wehmeyer fan page. That is facebook.com/KLW. That's KLW. That's my middle initials 782540. That's 782540, and please put KL or just search Kerry Wehmeyer and you'll be able to get it. It'll be both pages. So we'll really appreciate it. So okay, we really appreciate Richard Anderson coming in here, sharing my video. I appreciate it. And also Fox 87, thanks for coming in tonight. I really appreciate it. So just come on down. Whoever wants to talk to me, whenever, when I'm on here. So I'll allow you in, but please, like I said, always be respectful in the chat rooms, in our chat rooms, because we don't want any incidents of any kind going on in these chat rooms where I have to be Mr. Bad Cop and throw people out. So please be aware of that. So on that note, everybody have a good rest of your Monday evening, and we'll be back tomorrow with SEC Media Days starting at 11 a.m. We'll be on with the SEC Media Days broadcast. So until then, everybody have a good and safe Monday evening.